if you don't get them within the first 5 seconds, they're gone. Kind of like this podcast. We've already been rolling. Hey, welcome to Skeleton Crew Review. I am Tommy D, and we are back from the holiday break. Hopefully everyone had a happy and safe holiday. And as we said before the break, hopefully you engaged in some shenanigans and maybe a little bit of crime and didn't get caught. So be safe, don't get caught. Those are that's the phrase that pays. So this week we are joined by T to the Oni, also known as Jedi Master Ba Loney, Keeper of the Holocron.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
How was your holiday?
Pretty good, pretty good. I had a good time. Didn't do anything too crazy, but didn't get caught for what I did, so I'll take it as a win.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. And pilot of the infamous Parma Flyer is Crash.
Hi, everybody. S-foil's locked and ready to go. And for you, ready to go.
Oh, man. Hopefully that didn't come out of your sock.
It did not.
All right. So for those of you joining us for the first time on the show, go back and listen or rewatch one of our other episodes.
You had some feelings about...
I had some feelings about sock credits and Jod putting sock credits into his mouth. So, but he deserves all that and more. So we're going to be talking about that. So what we're going to be doing this week, because we did take a couple of weeks off, we did miss a couple of episodes. We are going to be talking about episodes 5, 6, and 7, Skeleton Crew, and giving our thoughts and our little review, what we thought about these episodes. I think we can all agree Jod is a dick. I think let's just start there. I mean, I think that's as good a place as any to start, because these 3 episodes really do show a lot of him. We're seeing more growth with the kids, which was great. And I want to talk about KB. That was shocking. That was heart-wrenching, some of it. But let's talk about Jod. Let's talk about the pirate captain. Was it Crimson Jack?
Yeah.
No, was it Crimson? Mm-hmm. No, was it Crimson Jack? Yeah. So let's talk about this Sleemo, shall we?
Oh, I think the NFL playoff prediction bracket for Jod's redemption arc is at like 12%. It's over. Like, you bastard.
So all right. So here's my question for you guys. All right. I think we're all in agreement that he is just an asshole. I mean, the guy, you think that he's a scruffy nerf herder, he's just he's a scoundrel. He was giving off Han Solo vibes a little bit. So nothing we haven't dealt with before, nothing terrible, nothing we can't handle. But then he's putting knives to the throats of children, talking about carving their parents up with lightsabers. I mean, okay, so here's my question. Two-part question for you. At what point in the series so far did you kind of fall in love with Jod? And at what point did you say, man, fuck that guy? Crash.
Okay. Fell in love with Jod. Oh gosh. It was pretty early on the at Akron or at Cuyahoga Falls or whatever, the second planet, when he, saved the kids, worked a deal. And you genuinely felt like this partnership was, you knew he was going to screw them over, but maybe in a happy Jack Sparrow kind of way.
Yeah.
Even at the spa, when he was like kind of yelling at them to focus, he's obsessed about the money. I understand that. And there was part of me that's like, okay, but you're going to be like honorable about it. Maybe like, okay, you're in it for you're a pirate, but maybe like a decent guy. And as soon as he like challenges Fern, I'm like, you son of a bitch. Because and the only thing saving him from being a complete d-bag is like he could have killed her outright. He could have just it would have been a little dark for a Disney show, but I'm like, he told her to her face, just yield, and it's done. I'm like, okay, so he didn't just kill a kid. He ganked Brutus without a second thought.
Oh, he sauced Brutus.
That was beautiful.
I mean, he sauced him. I mean, that was just one to the dome, lights out for Brutus. That is a wrap. That is a series wrap on Brutus, ladies and gentlemen.
And I was like, he was winning me back over with that "I'm hungry" speech, because there's a lot of truth there.
Sure.
There's this thing where people, this trope that pirates and all bad guys are bad guys. Some people are bad at because they got nothing else. Like that one Quarren that he referenced. You want to start a farm, your own microbrewery, whatever, for Quarrens. you gotta rake in some money before you can do it. That's how people in this galaxy become pirates. Desperation. They need credits.
Maybe you're doing the wrong things for the right reason. I mean, Andor is a perfect example. Andor is a murderous bastard. Cassian Andor is a murdering bastard, but it's, I mean, kind of for the greater good. But in this case with Jod, I don't think we have a greater good with this guy.
When he started, challenging Fern was one thing. When he starts, I even see sneaking on the ship, and finally having it, like he's had enough of the kids and they're whining and all that, threatening their family. Like if he'd have just brought these kids home, they probably would have given him a freaking reward. Like, he'd have had enough credits to just go off and live his best life, but he wants it all. And we'll talk that scene in the vault. That boy was doing the Scrooge McDuck money pit swim. He was loving it. I mean,
just one of those crates of Old Republic credits, he's set for life. Set for life. So at what point were you done with Jod? Like at what point did you, whatever fantasy you had about him, at what point was it gone?
I think when he pulled the lightsaber on the kids and threatened to carve up their families, because I'm like, that was so unnecessary. You had the in. All you had to do is bring the kids home, drop them off safe. You'd be a hero. And you just got to go D-bag.
Yeah, they probably would have given him a boatload of credits too.
Yeah.
Boatload of credits. All right, Tony, what are you thinking? Jod moments.
So
good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got?
I never fell in love with him. I really didn't. Okay. It just, they made it, the fact that every single time the kids were introduced to another person, they said, do not trust him. Like it was, to me, it was a very clear, he's talking a good game, but he's going to turn out to be the asshole. And so I just, like, for me, it was the always keeping him at arm's pace. Now, I will say, like, was there hope that, he's going to at least try to do right by the kids to get them home? Yeah, like that was definitely there, but there was never he's actually a good guy. And then as far as, where it turned for me, like, pretty much same exact time frame. When he challenged for captainship, there's a small part of you in the back of my mind that's going, maybe there's just something that he needs to be able to do as captain that he needs that position for, and that's why he's saying, like, just yield, don't,
like maybe there's more
once
to
it's
it.
over,
like,
then
like there's more to it. There's a reason, like he has to play this role of this bad guy, but I don't think that's the case. Right. I think he's.
But then the moment when it's when the challenge is over and he's like, lock them up and like once it's very clear that that wasn't just a play for whatever, it's he's done. Like he's just no longer cares about them. That's the point. It's all right. Yeah, he's the bastard. He's going to be the bad guy from here on out.
He is a bastard.
The thing that I don't get, and I might be jumping the gun a little bit here, is that, like, okay, so, like, he could drop the kids off, he could pretend to be the emissary, and get away with his plan to a degree. But the idea of, carving up the parents and doing all this, like, you had a hard, like, granted, now you've got a lightsaber, but you had a hard time dealing with Smee one-on-one. You've got an entire planet full of droids that are capable of like, basically
stunning him.
Yeah, that's sorry, I lost the word from it there. Yeah, just flat out stunning him and incapacitating him. Like, he might be decent with a lightsaber. So far, he hasn't shown me that he has any particular skill with it. Just, the obvious basics. Like, I don't think he can possibly win this. So I'm very curious to see how this next episode goes. But, like, yeah, I don't think he's really in a winnable situation as close as he is to his goal.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about where he is, and we're seeing a couple more instances of him using the quote unquote force. I'm still not completely convinced, but he's handling the lightsaber. But my next question: what do we think? And I'm guessing we'll probably find this out in the final episode, which is coming up here in a few days. But do we think that he is legitimately a force wielder? Like, was he a youngling? Was he a Padawan? Did he just kind of fall into it like Broom Kid? I mean, like, what are you guys thinking in terms of his force? Crash, what do you think?
I'm still sticking by my theory that he's self-taught for the most part. There's the Jedi Order were taken out in Order 66. The temple was shut down. There's still force-sensitive people. There's people that have maybe the raw talent, maybe not the training.
Sure.
But like he even told the kids, with enough meditation, there's enough lore of the Jedi out there in the galaxy that if you put your mind to it, maybe you can levitate a few things. Maybe he can, do a few tricks that worked well for a pirate. But I don't think I wouldn't call him a trained force wielder, but I'd say a raw talent.
Well, but he did say something that, like, he knows Jedi terminology. He knows phrases. He knows ideas. He knows concepts. He says your focus determines your reality. So,
I think we're chasing Easter eggs, basically. Because we all know the Qui-Gon line.
Right. So, I mean, it almost seems like he did have some sort of training, or he was exposed to it, or maybe somebody else that he dealt with was trained or something. I mean, he could be a secondhand Jedi. Yeah, but I'm still noticing that everything that he manipulates using the Force, it's usually always something metallic. So is it some sort of a like he got out of his own binders, he got out of his restraints,
right?
Just choop choop, and it was done. But so I don't know, Tony, what do you think?
I mean, I tend to agree with Crash. I think he's a natural Force user, lacking proper training to be able to do any grander things. I mean, like, he can do some parlor tricks and whatnot, but like, I mean, the big thing for me is, if he had any training as far as like, mind control types of abilities, he's had ample time to use them and we've never seen it.
Right.
So to me, it's I have some natural abilities, but I've never been trained on how to use them. So they're more like parlor tricks, but they can come in handy. So
he's strong in the fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So I'm going to call it right now. He is a defective Palpatine clone. I'm just going to put that out there right now. So it's going to come out that he was in one of Palpatine's many cloning facilities. It got hit during the Clone Wars, blew up, and he escaped barely. And he isn't even aware that he's a Palpatine clone, but he's a Palpatine clone. He could actually even be a sibling of Rey.
It's possible. We know
Rey's half brother.
We've never explored why. We know Palpatine had a son, and I know some of the newer books have explored that. There's some lineages floating around there.
I don't really think that. He's.
I know, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's like that 12% playoff bracket. It's low,
but we don't know. We don't know. Somehow Palpatine returned, so somehow Jod could be a Palpatine clone. I don't, and it's interesting because if you look at the Emperor Reborn from the EU, I could see the resemblance between Jude Law and the way that Palpatine, a young Palpatine, was depicted.
Yeah,
so I don't think that Jod is in any way related to Palpatine. I think it would be fun though. It would be so bad. It would jump all the charts if that was the case though. If he was in any way related to Palpatine or anyone else. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see. I'm excited, but I'm also a little bit sad that this great series is coming to an end here in just a few days.
Yeah, I am really hoping that it's not the end of a series as it is just the end of a season.
I want to see, and I say this in the most loving way possible, I want to see Disney exploit these children until they're adults and they just can't take it anymore for my own selfish, nerdy needs, because I have grown to love these kids, and I'm so happy to see their journeys and their adventures, and I'm having so much fun on this. It's such a nostalgia ride that I want more. I want a season 2 through 13. I want to see these. I mean, I want it to be generational, like Harry Potter. We saw those kids literally grow up from the age of 10 and into their 20s. I mean, I would love to see that for the Skeleton Crew. But I don't know.
That would be great.
And I don't know, like we've been told that Dave Filoni's going to have a movie, and then the fandom sort of assumed it was going to be like this a first Avengers movie compilation of the entire Mandoverse and all the Disney Plus shows into a. I don't know how these kids fit in with Mando and Grogu and Bo-Katan and all that yet. We'll see what happens in the finale, whether this show is designed as a one-off or if it's going to have some legs or potential.
I mean, it's universally loved at this point. Even the fandom menace has been really, really quiet. I've noticed you can't hate on this show. And for those that have tried, I've seen there's a couple people that will remain nameless because I don't want to give them any press. But there's been a couple who are kind of like tertiary fandom menacers. They're not like regular Star Wars content creators. They generally handle all media. So they, they'll attack whatever, but even their audiences, they tried like a couple of times to really go hard on Skeleton Crew, and their own audiences kind of pushed back, and then they haven't said anything since. So what that tells me is it's a hit, and I think it does have legs, Crash. Absolutely.
I think the fandom as a whole, the real fandom, not just the internet troll part, has learned the lesson of Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best, where we're going to start protecting our own, especially the young ones. And you're not going to hurt. We're not going to. There's always going to be somebody that's looking for clout that's going to make some big deal that KB has 2 moms. oh well, fight me outside, I don't care.
Man, there's been, you know what? I really thought that was going to be the hill that the fandom menace was going to die on. That's such an easy point to attack.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing. I mean, there's a few little rumblings and a few little, it's woke here and there, but it's such minor chatter that it's not even registering. So it's like, because the show itself, it's so solid on so many levels. And I also think, and I hope people are starting to realize that the galaxy far, far away is not our reality. So when we consider the fact that there are countless worlds, countless races and species out there, why can't we have space suburbs? Why can't we have two moms? You know what I mean? So it's like,
right.
it's you've got all of this vast expanse. Anything's possible. Absolutely anything is possible. And I think, again, I hope that they've come to realize this. I haven't even heard people talking shit about the space suburbs anymore. That was the number one point of contention when the trailers came out. But I think people are just actually legitimately loving the show.
Yeah, I saw after episode 6 came out, I saw one article that was basically trying to take Disney to task for KB being a placeholder for people with disabilities. And like, I saw that article and like nearly lost my shit, because I'm like, oh, like really, like you, like this is the hill you want to die on?
Right.
And I like, I
the St. Jude kids don't have
get ready to be the keyboard warrior. Yeah, and literally, like I was gearing up to go off, and then I just saw it, like literally within an hour, like this thing was just getting ratioed to hell, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take a step back and breathe and let them deal with that, because apparently it's under control.
Yeah, because that's when we talk about, everybody wants to talk about DEI, right? And the evil that diversity, equity, and inclusion brings upon the world. I never thought that those things would be considered evil. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those are all really good things to have. But when we're looking at KB, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I definitely did want to talk about KB. But when we're looking at KB, very, very seldom do we see people in Star Wars with a disability, where it's talked about as having a disability. We see people get their arms and legs chopped off, and they get, Darth Maul has a disability. He he is a disabled Clone Wars veteran. And, my boy got chopped in half, but we don't ever talk about that as a disability. It's almost like an enhancement. And then in the Book of Boba Fett, mods, they're enhanced, and now we get to see this from the perspective of KB. And when we're talking about what DEI is supposed to be, we're talking about inclusion. We're talking about having a property where anyone can watch it, and they're going to see people who look like them. And that just makes it relatable. So now if you do have children that have augments, I don't even want to call it disabilities now after this episode. I just want you're augmented, it doesn't, you're in a wheelchair, you have breathing apparatus, you're not disabled, you're augmented. But KB still had the courage to say, I can't do all of the things that you can do. Let's have that conversation. And she wasn't comfortable having that conversation at first, and that caused some stress between her and Firm. But by having that conversation, what about those kids out there watching this show who are themselves augmented? And now they're like, you know what, KB, I can relate to KB. Thank you. I'm going to tell my friends tomorrow that, guys, I can't run and jump and climb and do these things that you do, and I can't be quiet about it anymore. I got to tell you.
That episode
Mhm.
was great.
Love
it. For there was, as action wise, timeline wise, there wasn't a lot happening in that. The kids fall out of a tube. After the land in the junk pile. Oh wait, we got to get back to the ship. That's the episode.
Right.
And this was the Bryce Dallas Howard episode. There's a lot of heavy lifting, emotional, just gravitas going on here. I like the fact that we got the pairs split up. It was Fern, and Neil, and KB and Wynn, because you break the boys and the girls up, and now they get to interact with each other, and they get to actually kind of meet each other. Yeah, we learned so much about each of them because, Fern's the alpha of the pair, and KB, was afraid to tell her, "I can't keep up with you." Even now, you look back at that scene in the first episode when they're in the speeder racing together. She's sitting there in the sidecar like baggage because she's afraid to tell her, like, I can't do. That may be where her accident came from. We don't know.
We don't know. I so want to find out, like, what happened to KB. But this was her growth episode too. Like, we got to see Neil, Wim, and Fern on their growth episodes, and this was definitely one for KB, because I was wondering, when are we going to get to see KB kind of like, grow a little bit? And I was not disappointed.
And the way she calmly talked Wynn through how to replace. As someone who's done medical repairs for family members on the fly, like I've taken care of my dad. There have been times where they asked me to, like, can you do this procedure and do this? And you're like, okay, this is somebody this is stressful. To say, oh, hey, mold a fuse before my body decides to shut down in the middle of nowhere.
Seconds away.
Yeah. And the fact that he was on the ball and got it done. And I like how at the end she sort of like half joking, like, thanks for saving my life, Jedi, because she knows.
Oh, that was like, that got me. That got me in my chest when she said that. That got me in my chest. I was like, oh.
You don't have to be jumping into space battles to be a hero.
Right.
And I think that's a great lesson for kids. Sometimes doing little things to help people around you, that's bravery just as much as space battles and lightsabers and all that.
A lot of empowerment. A lot of empowerment going on in that episode specifically. And then we got to see the Onyx Cinder. What? What? I was not expecting that. That was like, I knew it had an armor on it. We learned that from the pirate, the pirate captain Tech. Was that his Tech something? I know that he had installed some armor on it. I wasn't expecting this whole ass sexy ship to pop out.
And that's the key to getting in past the maelstrom of At-Aten. That's the key, is that
it's an At-Aten ship.
Yeah.
And then when they were flying through the barrier, I liked how the satellite grid started turning green when it flew by. I was like, I know Disney's not going to kill kids in a show, but I was still kind of on the edge of my seat. I'm not going to lie. I was like, are they going to make it? I know they're going to. I mean, obviously they're going to make it, but are they going to make it?
For any Disney fans, those satellites were hilarious for me because it reminded me of the magic bands you wear when you go to a Disney park. When you enter the park, you scan a wristband and the thing lights up green when it's like, it recognizes who this is. As soon as I saw that turn green, I was like, okay, now you got to put your fingerprint on the touchpad and you go in. It's a Disney park admission.
So completely off topic, but speaking of the magic bands, I have yet to go to Galaxy's Edge. I'm really, really itching to go. It's not going to happen this year, probably next year, I hope. But
that's where I got this, by the way.
Your credit?
Yeah.
I saw someone on Reddit. They disassembled their magic band scanner thing and put it into a glove, and then so they use the force to get into the different places. They just wave their hand over the sensors, and it's now installed in the palm of their glove. I was like, God, you're such a nerd. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's sweet.
So these were, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tony. What were you saying?
I was saying that's sweet that somebody did that.
It's such God. I love being a nerd. Love being a Star Wars nerd, and it is such a great time to be a Star Wars nerd. I used to think there was too much Star Wars happening because when for the original trilogy generation, we got a movie every couple of years until we didn't, and then we went like 15 years without a movie except for the special editions, which those were hit or miss for us. But so now it's like there's so much Star Wars, and I at first I wanted to be a little upset about that because I'm like, you know what, it kind of loses some of its magic. But then Skeleton Crew came out, and I was just like, nope, we're back. We're back. I wasn't hating on Star Wars by any means, not to the level of Fandom Menace, but I was getting to the point where it was like, oh, okay, more Star Wars. Let's check it out. It almost felt like a chore. It's like, well, I'm a Star Wars fan. I got to watch this. So let's go. Let's do the thing. I'm
always amazed when Marvel fans complain about the extent of the MCU. There's people saying that they should reboot the MCU to the beginning because, it's so hard to keep up. Boy, it's like 1 or 2 movies and a couple TV shows a year, and we all know you got nothing else to do, so go watch and keep up. Just you're gonna have to watch Moon Knight. Accept it.
Moon Knight was something else.
Yeah, but I mean that's the everybody. There's this idea that there is such a thing as content overload. Yeah, there can be a little too much Star Wars sometimes, but one of the things I like about the Disney Plus shows is that we were talking earlier. It's people have such short attention spans that a 35-40 minute episode, 7-8 arc, this Skeleton Crew could not work as a movie. Bob Iger's obsessed with making movies again instead of TV shows, but this would not do well. This would be a flop as a movie because it just doesn't have the legs to compete with the movies that are out there. This you couldn't put this up against the new Superman movie and expect to beat it opening weekend.
And there's not enough time to really get into the characters and really to become emotionally invested and all that. But
you get to explore so many different areas. The tree is branching. That we have Skeleton Crew and Rey and Andor and Star Wars Rebels happening at roughly the same time, and now everybody's got an avenue of Star Wars that they can explore, and it's good.
I'm telling you, it's a great Star Wars fan. Tony, what do you got?
So for me, like when we talk about like content overload and whatnot, for me with Star Trek, that's the solo movie to me. The solo movie.
No. Hold on now. You said
that Trek.
You said it was Star Trek.
Sorry, my apologies.
Man, you're in the wrong neighborhood, brother. No, I love Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Yes.
For me, the solo movie was like. Don't get me wrong. Did I want to know more about Han's backstory? Yeah. But did I need an entire sequence to know how he got his gun? No. Did I need an entire sequence to see how he got the little chain the little thing with the dice that hangs off of his windshield? No, I didn't need to see that. And to me, that's where it gets annoying sometimes. Is he okay, you're going to give me a whole show, which is going to give me 5% more of a character's depth. And I don't need that. Star Wars is it's an entire galaxy. And you've got a massive time frame to play with, and yet we keep focusing on the same 60-year period and just beating it to death, and that's the part that gets to me sometimes.
Okay,
and I still enjoy it; it's still fun, but something like this with Skeleton Crew was there's maybe a passing reference here or there, but all in all, we're talking about new characters that we've never explored before. We're talking about new planets. New plot lines that have nothing to do with the greater war, and to me that's great. And that's what I love about it. And you mentioned, Marvel universe, and sometimes people get bogged down with that. To me, no. Yes, within the original, phase 1, 2, and 3 of Marvel, there's some things that you need to watch in order to keep up. And okay, fine. If that gets to be too much for somebody, okay, I guess. But so far, Moon Knight is just Moon Knight. There was no interaction with any other superhero. There was nothing else going on. So it's if you want to watch it, great, and I enjoyed it. If you don't want to watch it, fine. Yeah, there's maybe going to be a movie down the road where they're going to introduce him, and if you haven't watched the series, you're going to have a couple questions. But that's fine. If you can take it or leave it. And so for me, that's not content overload. That's just, okay, here's a variety of content. Pick and choose what you like.
All right, that's fair. And you do bring up a good point too. We are the only time that we have really stepped outside of the Skywalker era is with the Acolyte. And that's really but other than that, we have still, our left and right limit have taken place either a little bit before or directly after the events of the original trilogy. Where, like you said, it's that same 60-ish year era. We haven't talked about the old Republic, like going back 1,000+ years, or moving ahead to the Fell Empire. I can't remember how many years ahead that was, but that was but even with that's still, you're still dealing with Cade Skywalker, but it's not during this time frame. It's not, because right now we're in the Mandoverse. I know that's the era that they're calling it, but Luke and Leia are still alive. They're still out there kicking it, so I think on one level, it's being done deliberately to keep us rooted in a familiar galaxy, keeping it Star Wars. Like if we went back to like Knights of the Old Republic era, would a lot of the older fans acclimate to that? I mean, we've played the games, sure, but would we take to that and feel comfortable in that era the way that we feel comfortable in this, Republic, Empire, post-Empire era that we all inhabit now?
I don't know if you guys remember when the prequels came out. There was a lot of, I remember I was just getting into the fan forums, force.net, shout out. And it was interesting because there, like you're saying, there were a lot of people, a lot of casual fans and non-nerd people who knew of Star Wars as a cultural thing. Everybody knows what Darth Vader means, but not, but they may not know the specifics, other than the I am your father. When the prequels first came out, there was a little bit of, what's this? Are we reinventing because it was not the Luke and Leia that we knew. The fact that Obi-Wan was a young man was like shocking for some people. This is young that old guy from the first movie who dies. We get to see him. It took a little time to acclimate the shall we say, outside the circle of nerds.
Sure.
The diehard fans, even the diehard fans, complained because it didn't fit their head canon. And that's where a lot of prequel hate came from.
Yeah.
But for the casual fan, the everyday moviegoer, there was a little bit of, this is Star Wars before Star Wars. And I feel like this is the same thing with Skeleton Crew, where this is Star Wars in between the two trilogies. I love that. See, going back to the episode on the resort planet when the kids see the X-Wings chasing the pirates. I love how Wim finally makes the connection as a proud member of the fraternity. The X-Wings are the good guys.
Right. But like what you were saying too, though, like with the prequels, there is still, even though that we are seeing, new things, new characters, we're getting origin stories, there's still that connective tissue. There's still that familiarity. We're still seeing Tatooine. We're seeing, we're hearing the names Obi-Wan Kenobi, Palpatine, Alderaan, there's, Coruscant, there's still these things, although I don't think Coruscant was ever mentioned in the original trilogy.
Not until the special edition. Because that came from the EU, and then when they did the special edition, they retro it into Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and because that was just the celebration,
right?
For them toppling the So, but we still had, we had the Skywalker name. We had, again, Tatooine. We had these points of familiarity for older fans to be able to connect to, and I think that was something they did with the sequels as well. That first, episode 7, that was, people complained that it was too much like the original trilogy, that some of it was just like almost shot for shot, like, things out of the original trilogy. But I was kind of grateful for that, because when I saw it in the theater, I was like, okay, that's not Tatooine, but it's a desert planet. So I'm feeling that and seeing the Falcon and all, so I think we're always going to need that. I don't know if we'll ever really escape this particular era, because Tony, like you said, they're just kind of like, they're beating this era to death. Like, it's like every story is happening in this time frame. And now with the Skeleton Crew taking place, I guess, kind of parallel to the events of The Mandalorian, but there's more stories to tell in this. It's like, it's comfortable, it's a comfortable era. And there's, like you said, it's a big galaxy. So there's a lot of stories to tell. So
exactly. To me, that's the thing. Like, I understand, you make a good point about, like, if you go all the way back to Old Republic, like, there's just a level of familiarity you're going to lose. And I get that. And that's fine. But, like, again, it's a big galaxy. You can tell a story like this one. You can tell a story like Andor, where it's hey, it doesn't all have to be about the Skywalker family. It doesn't all have to be about this war between the Empire and the Resistance. Like, there's a much wider group of stories that you can tell within that same universe to keep us invested without just beating the same drum over and over and over.
And this is one of them. I mean, this is, and I just love it. All right. So we're going to wrap up real quick. But I wanted to, I don't know if this was a thing. I feel like it was, but when Jod was in the vault, when he first went to the vault, they said, he asked, how many vaults are there? And they said there was 1,139 vaults, like, on the planet. Like, this was not the only one. So I don't know if it's just, so they're in that one vault. So there's still 1,138 vaults remaining. 1138, THX 1138. The George Lucas, his first film that he ever made. I mean, they reference that. THX 1138 is just sprinkled all throughout Star Wars lore. So I'm wondering if that was that had to have been done on purpose.
That's not a random number. That's not
sure. There's 2,000 vaults. There's 1,000 vaults, but
I can see somebody in the writer's room doing a Price is Right where 1138, 1139, Drew. We'll just make up a random number, plus one to throw off the fan Easter egg hunting. But yeah, that was a cute little. We get the. I feel like Captain America. I get that reference.
Right. Oh, I love it. When I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. That's 11. So there's 1,138 vaults. Like, you sneaky, crafty nerds. I love it. All right. So we're going to wrap up predictions for the final episode 8, which again is coming out here in just a few days. Crash, go. What are your predictions? What are we going to see?
Oh, I know there's one clip that leaked out of Wim and his dad on a speeder bike. I feel like the kids are going to break out, obviously, but I think the families are going to get involved. I loved, real quickly, the beginning, the parents sending up that beacon. Again, Neil Nation represent, but Neil's mom was like fearless about just, okay, I have the stubby legs, but I'll outrun the security droids. Let's go. I have a feeling the families are going to fight back, and it's going to be fun to watch them kind of rebel against Jod even with his lightsaber.
Okay. All right, Tony.
Yeah, in the same vein, I mean, I know we talked about it, in one of the previous episodes, where when Wim's father got frustrated with the fact that the droids weren't going to do anything, and it was very clear that they were kind of on their own as far as trying to get their kids back. We talked about that moment where he puts his glasses down and he's just like, yeah, I mean, just in his head, he's just getting ready to go to war. And we didn't really see a lot of it, but I think now is where we're going to catch up to it.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a connection between the supervisor and the original pirate. Tech.
Oh.
I can't remember his full name, but I thought
Tech Rendar.
Tech Renard.
Rendar.
Okay. I think that there's going to be a connection there because I think the Onyx Cinder crashed on Atten hundreds of years ago. I don't think it was even 100 years ago. I want to say it was hundreds plural. And I think there's going to be a connection between the captain and the planet's supervisor. I don't know. Sherry said that the supervisor is probably going to be a droid. She really feels that the supervisor might be a droid. I don't think I disagree with that.
I'm with her on that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think I would like for it to come out that Jod was one of the younglings that escaped Anakin's slaughter. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Again, that might be jumping the shark a little bit, but of course, everything in Star Wars jumps the shark. The fact that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, that's you're jumping jaws on that one. I mean, it's just, but it's fine. But that's why we love Star Wars. It's corny like that. So do you guys think Jod will be in any way related to anything from the original trilogy or the prequels at all? No?
So
Trash, you're saying no?
I've heard stories, and I saw a couple articles, but I didn't read too much into them because I kind of want to be surprised by it if it happens. But there was talk about the fact that that Silvo, which is one of Jod's aliases, was a direct competitor with Han.
Ooh. That makes for some good comics if it did. Like you could do it animated or in comic form.
All right. So it is going to be a good ride. I'm looking forward to it. And so we will meet back here next week to discuss episode 8. Ooh, I'm getting excited. I love it. All right. So that's going to do it. You guys have anything to say on the way out?
Hey, can we give a shout out to SM33, that punch? When he just cold cocked Silva right in the mask. Right in the mind.
He really did. He got like in Friday, you got knocked the fuck out. Like that was he put him on his feet there. That was beautiful.
Can we all give it a left lean? Damn.
Go ahead, Smee. You cool motherfucker. Nick Frost voicing Smee. I never would have put that together because he does such a great job. I love it.
That would be a fun little twist. If
what?
Supervisor, you said, is a droid, and it's like it's another Smee.
Oh, that would be some shit, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
Everything's up in the air at this point, and this is another reason I love this show is that some things you can kind of predict. Some things are totally predictable. You're like, that's going to happen. This is going to happen. That's that person. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I got nothing. I mean, I've got nothing. I don't
and
know.
I love that.
It's like Game of Thrones, but without the death, dismemberment, and incest. It's it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh, and speaking of Game of Thrones, someone had posted something on Reddit. They made an intro for I thought it was the prequel, but they made a mock intro based off of the House of Cards intro, the TV show House of Cards.
Oh,
I've
okay.
never seen it. I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it. But people in the comments were wondering if a Game of Thrones style political intrigue sort of Star Wars show would work or not. And I don't know. It would have to be on HBO. It would have to be, pretty hardcore, but you'd have to have some other shit going on. But I mean, I don't know. We can talk about that now.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Clone Wars? I mean, am I missing something?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. But again, there's death and dismemberment for sure in the Clone Wars. Just not a whole lot of incest. So if that's what you want, your political intrigue, I guess, back over to Game of Thrones with you. But we'll see what happens. All right. So speaking of the Clone Wars, if you are listening to our other podcast, Star Wars Safe Space, we're going to be starting our very next season, and we're going to be going into season 4 of the Clone Wars, where things do start taking a turn. And it does start getting a little bit heavy, and not heavy. Crash. I told you in the group chat, not heavy. R.I.P. to Heavy, our clone brother. All right, fellas, we will see y'all.
See you on the flip side.
All right, thanks for joining us, Star Warriors, and we will see you next week. Bye.